Okay, so we're diving into this interview with Tucker Carlson
Yeah.
on the Sean Ryan Show.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I was pretty surprised by where it went.
Interesting, right?
Like, we're used to him talking politics, obviously.
Right.
But this whole deep dive into the supernatural,
Mm-hmm.
it was a bit unexpected.
It is interesting to see him connecting his experience interviewing all those powerful people.
Right.
Like even the president of Russia.
Yeah.
With this sense that there's like something bigger going on.
Yeah, like there's something more behind the scenes
Exactly.
than just, the everyday politics.
Beyond conventional politics, yeah.
And he actually says
It does?
that people who read the Bible are the only ones
Oh, yeah.
who are really prepared to understand what's happening.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
I mean, what's fascinating is how he links that to ancient beliefs.
Right.
About supernatural beings
Yeah.
taking physical form.
Like not just spirits,
Right.
but actually
Like real physical beings.
physical beings.
He even brings up the Nephilim
Oh, wow.
from Genesis.
Okay.
These beings born from, supposedly, angels and humans.
Yeah.
So it's like he's hinting that these old myths
Right.
might actually hold a key to understanding what's really going on.
It's like a hidden force.
A hidden force shaping our world, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just in Christianity either.
No, that's what I found fascinating.
Here he talks about Hinduism, Native American traditions.
Makes you wonder, right?
It does.
Like, what if there's more to these stories than we've been told?
Yeah, like maybe they're not just stories.
Exactly.
And then, this is where it gets a little unsettling, he talks about how he reached a point
Oh, yeah.
where he actually stopped investigating because he didn't want to know anymore.
That is a little unsettling.
Like, what did he find?
Right, what did he uncover?
Yeah.
That he was like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah,
It has a whole other level to this.
it does.
Makes you think, what was so disturbing that he just stopped?
Yeah, and then he talks about how the people who repeat the official line,
Oh, about the supernatural.
yeah, the supernatural being fake,
Mm-hmm.
they get rewarded.
Often rewarded, yeah.
But the people who speak out about the truth,
They get punished.
punished.
He even uses the word disinformation.
Yeah, like there's a system in place
It's like a manufactured consensus, right?
to keep us believing a certain thing,
Yeah, make it seem like everyone agrees that the supernatural is just fantasy.
even if they have doubts.
Exactly.
And then he goes on to say that based on conversations with people he considers credible,
Okay.
he believes that those in power are actually working for these supernatural forces.
Wow. That's quite a claim.
It is.
I mean, it really makes you think, what if power itself is tied to these forces?
Right. Like, are they beholden to something beyond human control?
That's the question.
And he doesn't shy away from the implications.
No, he doesn't.
He's saying these forces aren't benevolent.
Right.
They're working to manipulate and control us.
Which brings us back to the Bible.
It does.
And his whole point about how those who read it,
Right.
they're the only ones who truly understand what's going on.
He specifically mentions his wife
Oh, okay.
being a Christian.
Uh-huh.
And he seems to really believe that they are the best people
Interesting.
helping others without expecting anything back
Hmm.
and praying for their enemies.
It sounds like this personal experience really informs his view.
It does.
Like he sees it as evidence that Christians have this deeper understanding.
Of good and evil.
Yeah, like a different moral compass.
Totally. And he contrasts this with how religious people are often seen.
Oh, like inflexible.
Yeah, inflexible, judgmental.
Superstitious.
But he's arguing maybe it's the other way around
like maybe they're the ones who see things clearly.
because they have that faith.
Yeah.
It's like, could it be that those who are so focused on the material world
Right.
are actually the ones missing the bigger picture?
Right. It's a good question, isn't it? Like, has our modern worldview blinded us to something?
And then he goes on to talk about how he investigated all this.
Oh. Okay.
And it wasn't just casual curiosity. It was like a real deep dive.
A real effort to uncover the truth.
Yeah, he wanted to find out what was really going on.
He did. And he even says he hates to use the word reporting.
Oh, why is that?
Well, he feels like it's been discredited.
Oh, okay.
But essentially, that's what he did. He was investigating.
He wanted to get to the bottom of things.
Exactly.
So he's saying he's not trying to push an agenda.
Right.
He's just trying to figure it all out.
To understand what's really happening.
Yeah, he talks about how he'd reach out to people,
Yeah.
have dinner, these long conversations.
To try to understand what they knew.
Yeah, and he specifically says he doesn't trust people blindly,
Right.
but he's developed this
Well,
sense,
that's a sense for when someone's being truthful.
even if they can't remember every detail.
He's talking about intuition and discernment.
Yeah, like you can feel it.
Yeah. Right. You can tell if someone's genuine.
He even compares it to interviewing witnesses to a shooting.
Okay.
Like, They might get some details wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll still be able to tell you what happened.
They'll get the essence across.
And he says he was genuinely shocked by what some of these people told him.
That's why.
Like, what did they tell him?
Right. What could be so shocking?
It suggests it wasn't just compelling,
No.
but potentially unsettling.
Something that challenged his worldview.
He even says he reached a point where he didn't want to know anymore.
Like he had learned enough.
Yeah, like he'd seen enough.
Wow, it makes you wonder what he uncovered.
It does.
Something that shook him to his core.
So he's getting us to think about what it means to really see things clearly.
Yeah.
And he says the real struggles in life are unseen.
Interesting.
A belief held throughout history, except in the West since 1945.
So he's drawing a contrast
Right.
between the modern Western view,
Yeah, the material world,
material, observable,
and a more ancient or spiritual understanding.
right, acknowledging forces beyond our perception.
Like we've become so focused on the physical world
Right.
that we've lost sight of the spiritual.
In doing so, maybe we've become blind to the forces that are really shaping our lives.
Exactly. And he uses his experience investigating the supernatural to illustrate this.
Okay, how so?
He says once you gain this perspective,
Mm-hmm.
you start to realize there's a lot going on that we can't see or measure.
So our senses are limited.
They are.
They only give us a glimpse of a much larger reality
And there's a whole realm hidden from view.
where these forces operate.
And then he brings up UFOs.
Okay, so this is all tied together.
It is.
It's not just about little green men.
It's not.
It's about something bigger.
He says the main takeaway he has from the whole UFO phenomenon is that the government is lying.
Interesting. So he's not even questioning the existence of UFOs.
No, he's saying they're real.
But it's about what they're hiding.
Yeah, he thinks they're trying to convince us that the supernatural is not real.
It makes you wonder why.
It does.
Like, what are they so afraid of?
He asks that directly.
He does.
Why is the government so invested in making us believe that the supernatural doesn't exist?
Right. What do they care what we believe about spiritual matters?
And he talks about how people in the media who spread lies on behalf of the government face no consequences,
Mm-hmm.
but those who speak the truth are punished.
It's a disturbing pattern.
It is.
Like a system that rewards conformity.
And punishes dissent.
Exactly.
Then he gives us a tool.
Oh, what's that?
He says if you know the government is lying about something,
Mm-hmm.
you can often reverse engineer their lies
Okay.
to get to the truth.
So we can decode the propaganda,
Yeah, we have to actively question the information we're given.
not just accept it blindly.
Exactly. And then he drops this bombshell.
Oh, what's that?
He says he believes the government is working for these supernatural forces because he was told this directly
Right.
by a couple of people he considered knowledgeable.
So he's relying on the credibility of his sources.
He is, but he admits they could be wrong
They could be.
or part of a larger disinformation campaign.
It's hard to verify this kind of information.
It is, but he says he doesn't believe that's the case.
Okay.
And he talks about how when he hears a lie, he wants to first recognize it as a lie,
Right.
then ask what the nature of the lie is.
What are they trying to hide
Yeah, what are they trying to get him to believe?
or not believe?
Right, and then the third question is, what does that mean?
He's encouraging us to think critically.
He is.
Don't just accept what you're told.
And he acknowledges that he doesn't have all the answers.
Right.
But he says the whole situation is very suggestive.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it?
It does. And then he shifts gears a bit
Okay.
and talks about how the media can shape our reality.
Mm-hmm. They have the power to make us believe something or dismiss it.
And he actually encourages viewers to like the video, share it, leave a comment.
He's calling for action. He is not just passive listening. He wants people to engage.
Spread the word.
And that's what's so interesting about this interview.
It is.
He's not just presenting theories.
He wants us to question everything
to think critically.
and to take action.
It's a powerful message.
It is. And it resonates with a lot of people who are feeling disillusioned with the world.
Absolutely. Like something is wrong.
Right.
And we're being lied to.
He's offering a path forward
To break free from those illusions.
and reclaim our power.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
It is. He's hitting a nerve, you know? With this whole idea that the people we often dismiss as out of touch, they might actually see things most clearly. It's pretty bold, especially coming from someone like him, right? Immersed in politics and media.
And he keeps going back to this thing about Bible readers, specifically Christians. Like, they're the only ones who truly get it. He even says they're the only wise people. What do you make of that? It's definitely going to get some reactions, that's for sure. He seems to be separating, like, worldly wisdom, the logic and reason, material success kind of thing, from a different wisdom, spiritual wisdom, that he thinks comes from faith, from really diving into those religious texts.
He talks about how religious people get painted as inflexible, judgmental,
Superstitious, even.
right, all those things. But his point is, maybe it's flipped. Maybe they're the ones seeing things straight.
It's interesting, right? He's suggesting there's a whole different way of perceiving reality. Less about the material stuff, more in tune with the spiritual.
It's like he's saying people focus on just the material world. They're missing something crucial.
Something you can only get through faith, a connection to something bigger.
And he uses that word wise for the Bible readers. Like they have this unique insight. Makes you think maybe they can see through the BS, the manipulation.
Yeah, like their belief system gives them a different lens, one that lets them see beyond the surface, the underlying forces at play.
And to support this, he talks about his own experiences with religious people, I mean, specifically his wife. He calls her one of the best people.
Oh, interesting.
Says they help others, don't expect anything back, and they pray for their enemies.
It's a compelling point, really challenges those stereotypes about religious belief, right? He's not just talking theology, he's pointing to how people live their faith.
It's like their actions show this deeper wisdom, rooted in something more than the material.
Exactly. Like their willingness to pray for their enemies, that's huge.
Right.
Shows spiritual maturity, rising above those petty grudges.
It's a powerful example of how faith can make you more compassionate, more forgiving.
Absolutely. He's saying their faith gives them a different take on suffering, on good and evil, on why we're even here, and that lets them see things more clearly, navigate life with wisdom and resilience.
You know, what's really interesting is how he even says he reached a point in his own investigations where he stopped because it was getting too disturbing.
Whoa. So, like, he was learning stuff that was actually scary.
It sounds like it. Like, the truth can be dangerous.
Chilling, right? Makes you think, what did he stumble upon that shook him that much? Are there some truths we just can't handle?
Makes you wonder, is ignorance bliss? Or do we have to face the truth no matter how messed up it is?
He doesn't shy away from the idea that some truths are tough, that they can make you feel less safe. But he seems to be saying that facing them, that's the only way to break free from the illusions holding us back.
And then he's back to UFOs. No debate. They're real, he says. The question is, where are they from?
Okay, so it's not about IF, they exist, but...
But what's behind them? Government tech? Aliens? Or something else entirely?
He's really pushing the boundaries now. Like, they might be a sign of those unseen forces he keeps talking about.
Right, like we can't understand UFOs unless we're open to the possibility that there's more to reality than we can see.
Challenging that materialistic worldview, huh? The idea that science can explain everything.
Totally. Like there are mysteries that science just can't crack. Mysteries that need a different way of seeing the world.
And he's not afraid to throw out some ideas. He even suggests maybe those UFOs are how those supernatural beings get around.
Whoa.
The Nephilim, maybe? It's out there, but...
It's kind of mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
Makes you think, if the government is trying so hard to debunk UFOs, what are they scared of?
Yeah, and that brings us back to the disinformation thing. That whole effort to make us think the supernatural is fake.
It's so weird. Why would they care so much about what we believe about that stuff?
He also talks about how the media gets rewarded for spreading the government's lies. But people who tell the truth, they get punished.
It's like a system designed to shut people up.
A system that benefits from keeping us in the dark.
And he calls out specific people, even institutions.
Wow.
Saying they're part of this disinformation campaign. Spreading lies.
He's putting himself out there.
He is. Showing how strongly he feels about this. It's a reminder that we can't blindly trust authority, you know.
But you got to think critically.
Find out the truth for ourselves.
Exactly.
And then he just comes out and says it. He thinks the government is working for these supernatural forces, trying to keep us from the truth.
That's a huge claim. Going to be a lot of skepticism about that.
There will be, but it fits with everything else he's been saying.
It makes you ask, what if those in power aren't on our side? What if they answer to something hidden, something not so nice?
It's like he's saying these forces are pulling the strings, shaping how we see things, leading us to a future that benefits them, not us.
And he really believes it. He's not holding back.
And he doesn't leave us hanging, like, okay, we're doomed. He tells people watching to like the video, share it, leave a comment.
A call to action.
Totally. He's saying even small things can make a difference, to spread the truth, to push back against those forces.
He's saying we have to wake up, see what's really happening, and do something about it.
Is powerful.
Mm.
And I think it speaks to a lot of people who are tired of the mainstream story. They feel like something's off.
Right, like we're being lied to.
And he's giving them a way forward.
Towards awareness, understanding, empowerment, and reminding us we're not alone in this. There are others who are waking up.
And he keeps circling back to Christians, saying they're the ones who get it, like how they're often seen as inflexible, superstitious.
Right, those labels.
But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe their faith is what gives them that clear view.
He seems to be saying their faith lets them see past the illusions that trap everyone else.
He even goes as far as to say Christians are the only wise people. Like they have this deeper grasp of what's happening in the universe.
It's bold, gonna ruffle some feathers. But it shows how much he believes this, that faith is a source of real wisdom.
And it's clear, his own wife being a Christian, that's shaped his whole perspective. He talks about what he admires in her and other Christians. Compassion, putting others first, that forgiveness thing.
It's like he's saying their actions prove they get it. They understand reality on a deeper level.
He even says Christians are the only ones who pray for their enemies.
Wow.
That's a big statement.
It is.
He seems to think it shows how spiritually mature they are, that they can rise above that human desire for revenge.
He's saying it's a totally different worldview, that people with that spiritual framework, they come from a place of love, forgiveness, even for those who've hurt them.
He basically says Christians are the only ones who know what's up. Like, they've got the clearest understanding of what's real.
He's not just saying it to be shocking. You can tell he believes this, that people with faith are better equipped to deal with the world, to see through the tricks and lies.
And then he talks about his own journey, how he even got interested in all this in the first place. It's almost like he's letting us in on how he woke up to a bigger reality.
He talks about how, as a journalist, it's always been about connecting with people, having those real conversations, getting to the heart of the matter.
It's clear he's curious, wants to understand things.
Always searching, yeah.
And he started reaching out to people he thought knew something about the supernatural. Just wanted to learn.
Driven by pure curiosity. This need to understand something that's both fascinating and confusing.
He even says he hates using the word reporting for what he did. Feels like that word's been messed up.
He's separating himself from that. Like, there's a difference between finding the truth and just pushing a story.
He's seen how the media twists things, uses information to manipulate people, and he wants to do it differently. Be a voice for truth, for honesty.
It's a good point. A lot of people feel like the media isn't about truth anymore.
He makes it clear he doesn't trust people who just follow the official line. He thinks it's his job to figure out if what they're saying is true.
So important, right? We can't just swallow what they tell us. We have to think for ourselves.
Exactly. Question everything. And he talks about developing this sense for when someone's being real, even if they don't remember every detail, like comparing it to witnesses of a shooting.
Okay, yeah. They might get some things wrong, but
But you can still feel the truth of what they're saying.
it's more than just facts. It's the energy behind the words.
He says he talked to a lot of people, and some of what they said was truly shocking. Makes you wonder what he heard, right? And why he felt like he had to stop digging.
It's like he hit a nerve, uncovered something that was maybe too much.
He says he didn't want to know anymore, like sometimes the truth is just too heavy to carry. But he also says he knew those people were being real, at least as close to real as you can get. It shows he's got good judgment, can tell what's genuine, even when it's tough.
He's got that intuition, sees through the fakes, and he trusts that gut feeling even when it leads him to weird places, because he believes finding the truth, it's worth it. Even if it means facing hard stuff, challenging your own beliefs.
And this is where he brings up disinformation, how it's used to twist how we see the world.
Like we're living in a world where truth doesn't even matter anymore.
Facts get twisted to fit the story those in power want us to believe.
He's saying we're drowning in propaganda from everywhere. Governments, media, companies, even regular people pushing their own thing.
He talks about the government and the media working together, creating a fake reality.
A system designed to control what we think, what we believe.
Rewarding us for going along with it, punishing us if we don't.
Whoa. So we're like trapped in this illusion.
That's what he's saying.
We have to wake up, see the strings, break
He
free.
even calls it a form of spiritual warfare, a battle for our minds, our souls.
He's saying it's not just about politics or money, it's deeper than that.
It's about who we are.
And what we choose to believe.
He said the forces of darkness are trying to trick us, keep us from seeing the truth, like there's a conspiracy to keep us blind.
This is heavy stuff.
It is. He's painting a pretty dark picture.
Like, we're living in a world where the truth is buried, people who try to tell it, they get shut down, and everyone else is stuck in the dark.
And he says the only way to fight it is to wake up, to realize what's happening, and start questioning the story they're feeding us.
He's calling us to think for ourselves.
Not be brainwashed.
Exactly. Find different sources of information. Connect with people who get it. Start using our own minds again.
He's saying we have the power to choose what we believe,
Yeah.
to shape our own reality, and make a better world.
It's hopeful, right?
It is.
Like, even though it's scary, we can do something about it.
Exactly. And he reminds us we're not alone in this. There are other people who are waking up too.
And together, we can make a difference.
Create a reality based on love, on truth, on freedom. It's a powerful vision, right? There's hope, even in the midst of all this darkness.
Yeah, it feels like a choice. Like, are we going to stay asleep to all this? Or are we going to wake up and actually fight for something better?
And he gets really specific about how this disinformation works. One of the big goals, he says, is to make us doubt anything supernatural. Like, if science can't explain it, it's got to be fake.
It are strange, though. Like, if it was all just nonsense, why would they work so hard to debunk it? What are they so scared of?
Right. It's like they need us to believe the material world is all there is.
Exactly. Limit our understanding of reality. Keep us focused on the surface. Then they can control us easier.
Keep us from seeing the bigger picture, from reaching our full potential, maybe.
Right.
He even says, and this is where it gets really out there, he thinks that the government is working with these supernatural forces,
Yeah.
actively trying to stop us from finding out the truth.
That's a huge leap. Like, are there people in charge who aren't even human? Or who are taking orders from something else?
It's a disturbing thought, right? Like, what is reality even? Who's really in control? And how much of what we see is just a lie?
Makes your head spin a bit.
He says he's talked to people who've seen this firsthand, the connection between the government and those forces, I mean. Doesn't say who, but it makes it sound like they're legit. People who've risked a lot to share what they know.
You can tell he believes this. He's not just throwing out crazy ideas.
And he ties it back to faith. Says Christians are the only ones who are ready to grasp what's really going on.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like, faith is usually seen as this outdated thing, not logical, not scientific. But he's saying it's a source of knowledge, a way of seeing the world that others miss.
He thinks their belief in a higher power, that whole good versus evil thing, their commitment to truth, it gives them a different lens on what's happening.
He even says they're the only wise people. Like, they have this deeper understanding.
It's bold and probably going to piss some people off, but it's clear he really believes it, that faith gives you a kind of clarity, a strength, lets you see past the illusions.
And you can tell his wife's faith has had a big impact on him.
Yeah, he talks about her, how he admires her, that compassion, the selflessness, the forgiveness he sees in her and in other people of faith.
It's a personal thing for him, not just some theory. He's seen it firsthand, how faith shapes people.
He even says Christians are the only ones who pray for their enemies, which that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
It goes against every instinct, right, to want revenge.
Totally. But he sees it as strength, like rising above all that pettiness.
He's saying real power isn't about controlling others. It's about love, compassion, forgiveness.
Building bridges, not walls. Healing, not hurting.
Yeah.
And in the end, he goes back to that statement. Christians, they're the only ones who know what's up. It's definitely going to get people talking. But it shows how deeply he believes this, that faith is the key.
It challenges us, right, to rethink what we believe about religion, about spirituality, about where truth comes from.
Whether you buy all of it or not, he's asking some big questions, questions we all need to think about. And he's offering a perspective you don't hear very often, especially not from someone like him.
It makes you think, makes you question, makes you want to search for the truth yourself.
He's saying we have to wake up. We can't just be passive. We have a responsibility to understand what's happening.
Yeah, to reclaim our power, to fight for a better world.
And he leaves us with this sense of hope, that even though things might seem dark, we're not alone. There's a growing number of people who are waking up. And together, we can change things.
It's inspiring, it's a little bit scary, but it's also empowering. Like, we have a choice. We can choose to be part of something bigger, something better,